You could help shape it, you could adapt, because it will affect you, I believe. My experience says that this won't work without good, high coverage infrastructure in your sector. That's all I wanted to say. I hope I've had a go at answering the question. I hope I've covered something a bit different. Thank you very much for listening. Happy to take any.
Thank you very much, Peter. Very interesting. We've got a few several people very interested in asking questions. Before you ask your question, will you just say who you are and where you're from? And we haven't got massive amounts of time, so keep your questions succinct. First question here.
Alistair Cormie, Managing Director of Groundwork South West, providing a large number of services to local authorities across the South West. Can you answer the problem that many of us encounter with local authorities? When times are tough, they withdraw into themselves and stop delivering out and say, we can do it, until they can't. Whereas I disagree with your argument, because voluntary sector organisations can quite frequently deliver a better cost alternative, especially if we can get money from elsewhere. I'll give you a good example of that attitude that is prevalent through a lot of local authorities. A major local authority in the South West, a senior manager, just last week told me, it's a tough budget round this year, I don't know how I'm going to keep my team together. To which my response was, don't you know how you're going to deliver the service you're supposed to be doing?
I suspect the answer lies in that very last part. We don't see ourselves as a service provider first and foremost. We are there to meet needs. I know it's probably on your bullshit. No, sorry, not bullshit. It's a bingo, blue sky bingo for the polite version. Our principal role is to meet needs by commissioning those somehow, which can be us. I do believe in a mixed economy because I don't think you become a very good purchaser if you don't know, how it's done. But the last thing we should do in a tight time is to actually cut back and become a provider. Let's go back to us losing 500 jobs. We'd probably be losing no jobs if we were following your model of just shrinking back. I expect us to grow in terms of either the amount of joint provision we undertake or the amount of purchasing that we undertake. I do not see us shrinking back into just the core business, do it yourself. I don't know if that applies to every public sector body.
Thank you, Peter. Question at the back. Rupert Daniel, you had your hand up. You still got your hand up?
No, I haven't got my hand up.
I've got a berry like that.
It's quite interesting what you described there. What you described is nationally and particularly in the southwest a 10% reduction in the amount of investment that goes into social infrastructure from the taxes that we pay for infrastructure. And it seems to me that there's been quite a long time now that we've been trying to deliver high quality services on a reduced tax base, and isn't it about time that local authorities and governments generally have the courage to ask for the cost of what it actually is to provide these public services?
I don't understand the sums you're quoting to be honest.
Well, you said that 10% reduction definitely in budgets from central government for local authority service provision. I've heard figures as high as 30%. I mean, that smacks of a national emergency to me.
We will see, let's get this right around. We will see significant cuts in the amount of money that lands in the public sector's hands. Some of the money comes to us in all sorts of pots, and the easiest way to cut back is in specific grants. So I am specific grants being grants to us for purposes labelled by a central government department, and there are a lot less promises attached to those. With 10% less, we will end up doing 10% less money. You could end up doing straight away 10% less. our attempt as a county council, and I can only really give my experience as one organisation, is that we are trying to take money out of our running costs first and foremost. We've got a project going called Building Our Future, and we are trying to take out 500 jobs without impacting on our priority frontline services. It's the opposite model really of what the chap from Groundwork said, of shrinking back and just doing it ourselves. We're not, we're trying to make ourselves as efficient as possible such that as we can provide to a growing need. We're actually going to end up, it's a difficult equation to put over, but we're actually going to end up spending slightly more each year, but against the growth in our pressures, which is an ageing population, at the moment massive increases in the cost of children's safeguarding, costs in waste management rocketing. The gap between our pressures and our income is where the 10% gap is likely to emerge.
So should we pay for that?
I don't know,
we're not trying to do subsidy.
Folks, I think we might need to continue this particular point later. I'm just keen to get one very, very quick question, providing it's quick and the answer is fairly succinct from Peter. Lady over there in the beige.
Thank you. I'm Sandy Lewis from Wiltshire Council. I may have missed this, but you talked about shopping, investing, giving model. I didn't hear anything about the giving. And I wondered whether you could say something about that.
Frankly, we don't need a lot of it. We shop with your sector and want to do that. We are happy to create the infrastructure. Giving is very much sort of good cause based, and we spend, I think, around £300,000 on what you might call supporting good causes rather than purchasing an outcome from an investment. So we do some, but the shopping could grow very, very rapidly. Giving is unlikely to.
Thank you, Peter. I think that's really all the questions we're going to have time for. We don't want to interfere with the next items on the programme. But Peter Bungard, thank you very much for a stimulating